I don't know what happened.
We lost Greg.
Can you hear me?
I can hear
Yeah,
you.
that's okay. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay, I hear you just fine. Actually, let me turn a light on. We're live, by the way, so don't say anything
Oh,
too embarrassing.
I try to behave.
All right. So today, Dominic, I'm excited to have you on the podcast. Just as a brief intro, my name is Dr. Zach Carton. I'm the Chief Medical Officer and co-founder of Stride Souls. And Dominic Walter, I'll let you introduce yourself very briefly.
Dominic Walter. I'm the head of design at Strikezones.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. And what I wanted to talk to you today, just for a little bit, is about what you see when you're out in public and you see people walking or running. Like what kind of issues that you notice very frequently, and something that maybe we can tell other people to look for. And that way, if they see other people doing it, they might be more conscious if they're doing it, and start to correct issues from the ground up. And ultimately move healthier over time. Does that sound okay?
Yeah, yeah, that's
Do you
yeah.
do you like you
Mhm.
like this topic?
Yeah, but I tell you
So
why.
oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I tell you why. Because if you think about telling people what to look or what to take care about, I did that as well. In my experience, people tend to overcompensate them. So if you tell them like, look, you're inwards rotating a lot, then people, like, if they want to fix that manually or actively, uh, they tend to overcompensate. And in the follow-up appointment, I see a lot of inwards rotating, a lot outwards rotating. So it's a bit dangerous to say that.
Right. So I think that's exactly the point. When there's something wrong with your gait mechanics, very rarely can you kind of consciously try and, you know, compensate for it. You really need to think about exercises, footwear, orthotics to help you consistently so you don't overcompensate.
Yeah, exactly. So, but there's also things that you can actively do without being too cautious about, but still doing yourself a big favor. And it starts with the most easiest part: lace your shoes. I see so many people that wear the shoes without lacing them, just slipping in the shoes. They don't really stick to the foot. And then you have it's an unknown component, the shoe, how it moves and how your foot moves inside. So that's an easy
Uh,
fix.
we lost Dominic for a second, but I think that's a great point that your shoes really they are kind of like a medical device, and if you wear them improperly, the effect is not what they're intended to be. So lacing shoes and wearing shoes that fit and are tight enough, not overly tight, is very important. um, I don't know if you have any specific injuries that you've seen from people wearing too loose shoes, but I can speak to that as well, Dominic.
Yeah, go ahead. I mean, the obvious are things like stumbling or um, like, yeah, stumbling is probably one of the main things that you see. Is that a word, stumbling?
Yeah, but also, yeah, it's the right word. So tripping, like obviously the
Tripping.
injury risk is higher, but something that I've seen is that when you wear shoes that are too loose, you tend to flex the forefoot a lot more, the toe area, in order to keep your foot from slipping out of the shoe, to keeping your heel down. So you kind of artificially put extra force and tension on the arch, in order to keep it rigid, and therefore when you press off, the foot, instead of pressing off normally, is pressing off much flatter, so the heel doesn't fall out of the shoe, and that can lead to overuse injuries in the long term as well.
Yes, exactly. Also, starting from the toes. If you grab with your toes to not lose the shoe, all your foot muscles are involved as well, up to the calf. So yeah, that's absolutely right.
So one thing, so Greg, our other colleague and co-founder of Stridsels, Greg and I went to a park last weekend, in New York City just to observe how people were walking and to sort of get a sense of like what are really common issues that we saw. And I think it wasn't even close. The most common issue we saw was overpronation. So to describe what that is, that's when people are walking and their ankles are medially turned or they're rolled inside, and therefore there's a lot of extra pressure on the inside of the ankle and outside of the knee. Um, and it was fascinating to see not just how frequently people were overpronating, but how many people who overpronated wore shoes with really thick soles. It was like there was this connection between thick soles and overpronation. And I was wondering if you could kind of speak to that.
Yeah, absolutely. That's you if you have a thick sole, usually they're also very soft, like they're soft running shoes, for instance, and they don't support you in any way. And that, in combination with a slim toe box, puts the big toe to the foot, so it can't stabilize to the inside anymore. And then you pronate, and the soft midsole doesn't hold against it, so you really sink into that soft foam of the shoe.
Yeah, yeah. It was fascinating. Greg and I were tempted to like go up to people and talk to them about it, but we were a little bit too shy. But something we plan on doing in the future is actually doing like live gait analyses and finding people in public and trying to help them understand uh, the risks of overpronation in the long term and what can be done. And going back to your original point about overcompensating, it's not enough to tell somebody that they overpronate and then therefore they try and walk on the outside of their feet. That's just as dangerous. That's called too much supination, and that's its own problem in its own right. But there are things that can be done to safely correct for overpronation. One of them, like you mentioned, is having soles that are really rigid, that they're not overly soft. You're not walking on like a big piece of foam. But then I think even more effective in this case is custom orthotics. And maybe you could share a little bit why custom orthotics do a great job correcting for overpronation.
Yes, absolutely. So first of all, it gives you the right impulse subconsciously. So you feel in the beginning there's something inside your shoe, and you subconsciously react on that different topography, right? Our insoles, they work in a way, in a muscle stimulating way. You can imagine like the knee tendon reflex, right? When you're at the doctor's appointment and he makes, for instance, for kids, he makes this. So he gives an impulse on the tendon, and this causes a muscle contraction. And our insoles work the same way. So every stride, you have a contraction of the muscles that you maybe never used before. And by repeating, you have a training effect. And we can even make it visible and measurable in our clinic in Germany, for instance. We do measurements before and after, and we see amazing results just after 6 weeks of wearing the orthotics already.
That's awesome. Yeah, it really is such an effective way to help with overpronation, and it's one of the few things that like kind of immediately causes a really positive impact, and it protects you from going in the too far in the opposite direction of over supinating, of rolling your feet outward too much, as opposed to if you consciously try and do this while you're walking. Okay, so overpronation, that was the most common. The second most common thing that we saw, which was kind of funny, were people shuffling their feet. You know what this is?
No. What does it mean?
Shuffling or while walking means that they weren't doing the full biomechanics stride, push off, next step. Instead, they kind of rub their feet along, like kind of lazy. And we saw this a lot. And funny enough, like teenagers, and then
Yeah.
also in um, older adults. And I imagine there's two separate causes of this. My hypothesis is that older adults have weaker quad and hip muscles that actually help lift the leg off the ground, and it's really muscle weakness. And in teenagers, I think they think it looks cool to kind of not put too much effort into walking.
Is that still a thing? I thought that was the case when you and I were teenagers. Then yeah, like it was cooler, but now not
Teenagers are
anymore.
still doing it.
Yeah.
They're still cool. They're still
Okay.
cool. They're still shuffling,
But
and
you know what also
uh,
plays into
and
it?
the
The loose
teenagers.
shoes.
Okay, the loose
Sorry.
shoes as well. That's right. No, you're completely right.
Yeah.
And
Sorry, I think we have a delay. Yeah.
well, I think well, you're right. The loose shoes play into it, and my problem with shuffling is that it doesn't necessarily cause injury in and of itself. But if you're wearing down the soles of your shoes with every step, you're creating an unstable surface to walk on, and you're creating differential wear when you're kind of dragging the shoes along, which can be dangerous in the long term. But I don't know if you have any other thoughts on this phenomena that I noticed.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a big point. So you wear down your shoes way faster. They don't support you anymore in the way they should. And also, if you take a look on the inside of your shoe, like there's the I don't know if it's lining, is that the word? The inside of it.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and very often you can see people rub through that lining and destroy the heel cup. Did you ever see that?
Of
That the heel
course.
cup gets like wrinkly and soft, and that's also something. The heel cup has a function, and if you destroy it by not walking correctly, then the shoe might actually be harmful as well.
Yes, it's not just the outside of the shoe that wears down, but also the inside, and both are important. If even if the outside is in perfect shape and the inside is worn down, your foot is going to have too much room to move in there, and that it basically defeats the purpose of wearing well-fitting shoes. All right, so shuffling and overpronation. I want to do one more. Um, Before I give one that I think I saw a lot of, is there one that you wanted to touch on that you see people doing when they walk?
The inwards rotation I see a lot, so
Okay.
that the tips of the feet actually point towards inwards.
Yeah. Do
So
you
that's
call
what
it
you see a
pigeon
lot.
toes in German
Pigeon toes. Oh
or
yeah, you're
bird
right. They're
toes?
rocking like that. No, I don't, but I see why you call it like that. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And so maybe you can share a little bit about what the risk is of that and what people can do shoe or orthotic wise to help correct it.
Yeah, you should first we should talk about the cause for this. And it very often comes along with pronation as well. Because if your lower leg or if your foot pronates, then your tibia twists,
Twists. Yeah.
right? And it
Yep.
twists inwards sometimes. And if you have your leg straight, you can never rotate your foot out of the knee. So you can only rotate the foot starting from the hip. So if you rotate, it's also a hip problem most of the times. In the beginning, it's just a muscular thing, but you might feel a lot of tension in the lower back. That's how it starts usually. Then you might feel some pain on the outside of your upper leg. And that's all because of pronation if it's the upward spiral, so caused by the foot.
Yeah, and in this case, the treatment is the same thing in a lot of the ways as overpronation. You need to make sure that the soles of your shoes are very rigid, that they don't allow for additional inwards twisting. And can you share a little bit about how custom orthotics can help with the inward toe pointing or pigeon toeing?
Yeah, first of all, as you said, the cause is very often the pronation. So we have something against pronation. And then we can use certain elements on the insole that's more in the forefoot to give a rotating stimulation, even. Right. And that's also
Yeah.
something we can measure very well. Like um, before and after of rotation is quite a big difference after a short time only. So really good.
Awesome. So, as just kind of a summary, instead of, I think it's more effective for a lot of people to notice what other people are doing when they walk as opposed to paying attention to themselves, because it's hard at first to kind of see how you're walking. But when you're going out in public, you're walking down the street, on the sidewalk, see if you can notice people who are rotating their feet inward, or over pronating. If people are pigeon toeing, their actual toes are pointing forward, or the other one we mentioned, people shuffling. And once you start to notice kind of issues with other people's gait patterns, it helps you be more aware of how you might not be walking or moving in the most effective way. And there's lots of things. The great news is there's lots of things you can do to move better, but also prevent injury. So if you want to learn more, head to our website, stridesoles.com, or you can contact either of us at team@stridesoles.com. But I think that's it for us. Any last thoughts, Dominic?
I think that's yeah, that's it. We covered quite a lot of topics today.
All right, you're the man. I'll see you next week.
Thanks, Zach.
All
Bye
right,
bye.
bye.